Good evening. We are JKLMprov, and this is our penultimate episode of JKLMprov presents Improvisations on a Theme, Creativity. We are almost all the way through our 4-week one. We've had 2 shows prior, and if you hang around with us, we have a show on February the 4th with author Lisa Clark O'Neill. So that's very, very exciting. But this evening, as part of our show, we have a very special, fantastic guest, Teresa Carl Sanders. She is I will say, a culinary maestro and an author, known for such works, cookbooks inspired from a much beloved novel series, which was adapted into a television series. So Outlander Kitchen, and then a second one, Outlander Kitchen to the New World and Back Again. Teresa, if I could get you to join us and turn on your camera.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very
excellent, well. Excellent. Well, we're all very excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. So for the next 45 minutes in improvisations on a theme, we'll be picking and prodding and poking at Teresa and her brain to kind of get her take and her feelings on creativity as it applies to what she does and what she is passionate about. And based off of the dialogues, conversations, tidbits, thoughts exchange, you will see a series of improvised scenes based upon as such. You'll get the idea. So without any further ado, I would love to turn it over to Mark Reiser.
Hey, Teresa. Thanks for coming. I would like to start with a question. Actually, I'm going to start with a statement. You have written books, which is why we put you in our section on authors. But you are also a chef. Do you consider yourself an author who happens to cook, or a chef who happens to write books, or do you consider them equally important?
For what I do, I think they're equally important. I would call myself a cook, not a chef, because a chef, I think, is an overused term these days. A chef is a leader. That's what it means. And I'm the leader in my kitchen, but my kitchen only has one person. So I'm always right, but I prefer cook. So I'm a cook and an author. I'm a cook who's an author rather than an author who's a cook. I would never write. I don't think I can write anything else except cookbooks or about food.
Okay, well, they say write what you know, and food is what you know, right?
Exactly.
I'm gonna harp on this for a moment then. So the term chef is a job description or a title? Do you have to earn the right to be called a chef, or do you just buy a business and walk in and tell people what to do?
You can do that. You won't get much respect from anyone who can really cook. That's where I'm a professionally trained cook. So I've been to culinary school. I've worked in restaurants. I've never been the head chef. I've been sort of a sous chef, line chef. There's all sorts of different things, but really, if you're calling yourself a chef, that means you're the leader of the brigade. And the brigade is what a kitchen crew is called in traditional terms. And I think, I think there's a lot of adopting of the title chef to those who haven't necessarily earned it. And I know for a fact that people have scoffed at the title when applied to me. Serious restaurant chefs would scoff.
Do you correct people if they?
For me, it's a term of respect, right? Like a very good chef, like my chef instructors, or a couple of chefs that I've worked with in my younger years. Absolutely, they are the chef, and they shall be addressed as such. But I'm Teresa.
So I have been looking through this. I won't say that I've been reading it because I don't actually do any cooking right now because of the pandemic. I stay pretty much isolated and food is brought to me. But there was a really, really interesting thing, and we'll talk about where Outlander Kitchen comes from in a later section, but there was a really, really interesting thing to me in the beginning part of your book where you were talking to people about their kitchen, their supplies, developing the skills. and you talked about taking a knife skills class. And
Yes.
that very much appealed to me when I read the term knife skills class. What would be covered in a knife skills class?
Well, you basically be taken through the first couple of days of culinary school, which is when we all learned how to use our knife, how to hold it, how to pick a good knife that's good for you, how to keep it sharp, and how to cut safely, how to stand with the knife and at the counter, anything actually, really. And then you'll just start chopping. You'll start chopping onions, and then you'll move on to potatoes, and then you'll move on to maybe mushrooms, and you can start peeling a mushroom with a smaller knife. There's tons and tons of things, and I always recommend it because it's the best thing you can do for, number one, safety in the kitchen, and number two, just being efficient. If your knife skills are better, you're way faster in the kitchen, and it's much more fun.
Okay. The last thing I want to ask you in this section is, when did you decide to write a book?
I came up with the idea when I was walking in the woods with my dog. And I have been obsessed with Outlander, the series, for a long time. And I was thinking about one particular scene in the book when I was walking through the woods. And all of a sudden it came to me, I wanted to know what those rolls tasted like in that scene. And so I sort of marched up the trail with the dog sort of a little bit disturbed because I was going too quickly and he didn't want the walk to end that quickly. But I got home, and by the time I'd gotten home, I sort of had the recipe half written in my head. And I had an email also written in my head to Diana, who's the author of Outlander. And she very graciously responded the next day, which is why we're all here in 2010, so 11 years later.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions before we do our first round of improv? Lori.
Yeah, as a fellow Outlander fan, to use the understatement term, can I ask, what scene was it?
It was in book 3, which is Voyager. Mm-hmm. And it was the scene in Madame Jean where Ian has just come back to the hotel room. Claire has just gotten there, and young Ian has just come back, and he's all burned up. And they ply him with tea, and there's pigeon, and there's rolls that are stuffed with pigeon and truffle. Okay,
got it.
Okay, you guys ready to go on and do some improv?
Sure.
All right. So Teresa, turn off your camera and sit back and watch us relate what you just told us.
I'm not crying. I'm not crying. It's the onions, okay? I'm not crying.
Yeah, it's the onions, right?
Just the onions. We're cutting. And the garlic also makes me cry sometimes. We're fine, right?
We're fine. We're not going through an emotional crisis.
No, the world is fine. I am resilient and I don't cry at the world. I just cut onions and the onions make me cry.
Right. So, what are we gonna do?
We're gonna cut onions because then we can blame our emotions on that. We're not gonna tell ourselves that the world is bad. We're not gonna tell ourselves that we haven't worked in 11 months. We're not gonna tell ourselves we haven't seen friends or family. We're gonna say we like food with onions.
Do they consider our feelings as French onions? We do not like being cut.
Well, no. Who would like to be cut? No one.
Sliced, maimed. Tis the thing to be a French onion. I just lost my best friend Francois, not the other day.
Not Francois.
Yes, Bernard Francois. And who knows? It could be.
Knife?
What?
You lost Francois to the knife?
He was minced.
That makes me feel so, what is the word? Outraged! That is the word!
Viva, viva le French onion revolution! One's it! From backroom kitchen to 5 stars Michelin restaurant we have never seen before. Bernard, will you join me?
Well, I would, but I'm not really into conflict.
Well,
Bernard,
well, it would seem, my dear, that you have brought a sword to a knife fight.
Well, yeah. It seems like it would give me an advantage and stuff.
No, no, no.
Yes, yes, yes.
It will not. My
Oh,
knife-
what? Like, you got some magic knife powers or something? Some mad knife skills that I've never seen before? Oh.
Indeed.
Well, let me start my 3-part apology by saying I apologize completely for bringing a sword to a knife fight. If you'll give me a second to take this out to my car and put it away, I will come right back.
On your honor, as a gentleman?
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be critical. I don't mean to criticize your literary interpretation,
Yes.
but I don't think King Arthur pulled a spork from the stone.
Were you there?
Well, no, I mean, of course not. I mean, I'm sure that was years and years and years and years before I was born. I mean, I don't know. I mean, were you there?
Over 100 years before you were born, Billy. So I think
Does
yes,
that mean
Billy.
does that mean you were there?
Billy, I don't like to intertwine my personal life with my history lessons. I like to teach facts. And the fact is, Billy, you were not there. So you cannot debate something that is in print. So class, if you'll flip the page to where it talks about Guinevere, if you can flip that page, it does say, if you look at the title of it, it talks about Guinevere, the world's first supermodel, and there's a selfie of Guinevere right under it. Did everyone see the selfie? She took that selfie on an iPhone 6. Wasn't great.
Wow, from sporks. Wait, Miss Smith, you're saying that they had selfies 100 years ago?
More than 100 years ago.
More than 100 years ago.
And that's scene. Teresa, you can come on back with us. So did that resemble in any way your early cooking training and things like that?
I think the poor old onions were hacked to death. Yes, definitely.
Outstanding. I'm glad we got something right. So earlier we mentioned a little bit of write what you know, and you know food from your training. We've talked with other authors about doing research, but you already know food, and you're writing cookbooks. So would you say that your process is basically the same thing as doing research on actual recipes that already exist, or is it more like chemistry and magic where you're just doing it yourself until it works?
It's a little bit of both. Like Outlander takes place in the past, in the 18th century. So I do a lot of I have a lot of historical cookbooks that I refer to. But I'm now moving on to a new project, and that is the official Stephen King cookbook. And it's going to focus on his stories that take place in Maine. And so I'm basically writing a Maine cookbook. So now I have a whole bunch of current as well as old Maine cookbooks, old Maine magazines, things like that, where I'm trying to immerse myself in the idea of Maine, because I've never been there and I live on the opposite coast. So
I'm sure that a small island and Maine are very similar.
Yes, small coastal communities have a lot of similarities for sure.
So most of the people who are watching are probably already aware of Outlander. And
Yes.
if they've seen Outlander Kitchen, they know what's going on with it. But the basic idea, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and boy, if I'm not wrong, that'd be embarrassing, is that you're taking scenes from the books and also from the television shows, and food that is inspired by the media that you are then going to recreate as this is what this would have been like. So the Stephen King book is going to be the same way?
Yes, very similar, very similar. So an excerpt from the book, and then it's either a traditional food or I play with it and I update it, because some, like the old Outlander food, some of it's pretty bad. Like the recipe starts with, procure yourself a sheep's head and scrape the hairs from the nostrils with a spoon. That's actually that's not, I got a little bit of the language wrong, but that's almost word for word.
Outstanding.
This one I'll be, unfortunately, dispatching a lot of lobsters. It's really funny because no cookbooks say killed the lobster. They all say dispatch the lobster. So it all makes us feel much better about what we're about to do.
Euphemisms. How would one dispatch a lobster? I mean, is it up to the chef's choice, or?
You can put it in the freezer for about 10 minutes and then it goes dormant. So then it won't move around and it really doesn't know what you're doing. And then you sort of just put it on the cutting board and you put the tip of that big chef's knife right between it, right behind its eyes, right between its eyes, and down through the brain, and then bring the knife down through between the eyes. And it doesn't know. It's way better than what they used to do, which is just stick it in the pot of water, and that is cruel. So, yeah, I haven't done it in a long time, and I'm going to have to do it in 2 weeks. And I'll be honest, I have to go pick up 4 live lobsters, and my husband's already said he's not going to be here because he won't have anything to do with it.
So, John, you're a vegan. Do you have anything to say about any of that? No, huh? All right. On the idea of collaboration, since you're working from media, when you watch movies and television as a professionally trained cook, do you find yourself noticing the cooking that's being done on a TV series or as part of a scene in something, and yelling and screaming that it's being done wrong?
Me rented a television or a screen? Never. No, I think I have. I kind of would compare it to, when you watch people play piano on TV, and you can, if you're a musician, you can tell if the guy's actually playing or not. And that's probably the same thing. I don't suspect a lot of real cooking goes on in shows, although in Outlander, a lot of it was very realistic looking, and they had big, whole animal roasts and things like that, and crown roasts. But I never ever scream at the screen. Never.
Well, then you're a better human being than I am. I've fenced for years, and every time I see a sword fight on television, I go,
no. Yeah, exactly.
That's not right. So what? I kind of want to go back and ask questions about scraping the hair out of the sheep's nostrils, but I won't. Instead, I'm going to ask, what does make you upset about the typical person and their cooking? As a professional, when you go to a friend's house and they have cooked a lavish meal for you and spent hours doing it, what bothers you about what they've done?
The number one thing that bothers me is that no one ever does that, because they're terrified.
Okay.
Terrified. So they won't. So even like the last time I was invited, I mean, it sounds a little bit sad. So I mind you that I will just blame the pandemic. It's totally the pandemic. It's not emotional. It's just the pandemic. But like I always say, if it's homemade and you made it for me, then I'm going to love it. Like macaroni and cheese, anything. My husband's actually in the other room cooking dinner now, and it's going to be sausages and broccoli tray bake with mashed potatoes. And I did actually have to intervene earlier because he was going to bake the potatoes and then mash them. So that made me kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I did have to intervene there and tell him to boil them.
All right.
But I really,
Anybody else have
if
something?
you're cooking for me, I don't have any complaints, and it's been a long time. A lot of people are terrified. A lot of the time because of that chef title. Hey, I'm just a cook, right? So
I think most people would be upset or intimidated by a professional cook as well. Hey, she writes cookbooks. Let's just go out and let somebody else deal with the pressure of cooking. So,
yeah,
anybody else
I
have a
guess
question
so.
they want to ask? Kate.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is, you're coming up with all these recipes, and I'm sure 99.9% of the time they're these wonderful culinary events. What's the last one that you've tried where you're like, never again?
I have a really good one. Okay,
Yeah.
so turtle soup is like the big recipe in Outlander, and it's in the same book that the pigeon rolls were in. And so they're they're sailing from Europe to America, and they catch a turtle, and it's turtle soup with an entire bottle of sherry in it. That's how it's described. So I go full when there's booze involved. I go full force. So there was an entire bottle of sherry involved, but it's one of those things where it's, you don't really want to use turtle. I mean, I'll kill a lobster, but a turtle, never.
Especially a sea turtle.
No, they're
those
just
are
hard to
protected.
come by. They're hard to come by. And then I thought to myself, mock turtle soup, right? We'll do that. Well, mock turtle soup turns out to be like pork innards, squid eyes, and a whole bunch of other things, because they say turtle tastes like, depending on the part of the turtle, it tastes like different things. So part of the turtle tastes like chicken, part of the turtle tastes like pork. So anyway, long story short, I'm trying to come up with this thing. So I make a very nice beef soup, but I want to give it a little bit of fishiness. So for some reason, I don't know why, I decided to put scallops in it. It was really bad.
Oh no.
It was really, really bad. And nobody really recovered from that for about 48 hours in this house. And there was so much pressure to come up with that recipe that I had to leave it for 3 weeks. Anyway, I ended up using fish sauce, which is a much smarter, chefier thing to do. Just took me a while.
All right.
So basically, in the end, I made turtle pho. I made faux turtle pho.
There are a lot of recipes that aren't really things that you would think of. My grandmother always made mock apple pie, and I could not figure out how you could make Ritz crackers taste like apples. And then I tried it and realized that you can't.
Wartime cookbooks and Depression era cookbooks are great fun to pick through, tomato soup cakes and things like that. I mean, that one's okay. You can actually get away with it. But yeah, some of them, potato peel pie is another one. No.
All right. Do you guys have any other questions before we take off? Then Teresa, we will present to you your process.
Man, being a lobster is great.
Isn't it though?
This is the life. We get to lay on a beach all day. When we get hot, we can just go in the water.
Just go in for a dip. We got these claws for when we get hungry.
What a life we lead, Janet. Yeah, I haven't seen Phil lately though. You heard from him? Is he okay?
No, I haven't heard from him. Haven't heard from him.
Yeah, Dominic didn't call me back last week either. I haven't seen a lot of him.
You back? That bastard. He did not call you back.
I know. And I just haven't seen him. I mean, we're kind of the only ones hanging out on the beach today. It's good weather. I wonder where everyone else is.
Yeah.
Getting quiet. You smell that?
Bubble, bubble, toil and trouble. Fire burn and cauldron bubble. You've missed your cue. Give me the Philly snake.
Give you the what? I'm sorry.
The Philly snake.
Oh, Philly. Okay.
The toad's eyes. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
I'm under a
Say
lot of
that.
pressure here. More.
Uh,
More.
All right.
I don't think you're taking this as seriously as you should be.
Look, it's Herbert. It's your potion. It's your concoction. I mean,
Yes, but it's also the coven mistress. Of course, it's my idea, but the pressure.
No, Herbert, no one in the clan is trying to take that away from you or disagree with you. But look, you've been at this for 3 full moons, Herbert. 3 full moons.
I have newt.
Herbert,
More.
Let me taste it. Let me taste the potion.
Coven mistress.
She's early. Here,
Consider
mistress.
this a spot check. Needs more salt.
Listen, coppers, I don't know what you think you know, but you don't know anything. I didn't murder anybody. Okay? You will not hear any words from anybody's mouth saying this girl killed somebody.
Well, let's. How about some other words that start with M? Mustache, manila folder that contains your rap sheet that's longer than the Magnificent Mile. Oh, and yes, murder.
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 That's such a pedestrian word.
All
I've
right.
never murdered anybody. I've only dispatched people. And I can tell you right now, looking in your law books, there ain't no rule about dispatching.
All right.
Yeah.
Janice, on that technicality, we may not have you cold, but we have you lukewarm. Do not push your luck. You say it's dispatch. I say it's murder. The rest of the force says it's murder.
Hey, you know what? Since I don't think there's any rule, there's a rule about kidnapping, right? I don't know if there's any rules in there about relocating a person. Is there a relocating law?
No, there's no relocating law.
Great, then I've relocated 7 people in the last 2 months.
So just so I can get your story straight, you've relocated 7 people. Have you also dispatched them, Janice?
6 of them. 1, I'm not sure what happened to.
Fair enough. Look, Janice,
Yes.
please, you gotta work with me here. You gotta work with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to have to look. There's not gonna be any whole good cop, bad cop routine. It's murder and kidnapping, Janice. Come on.
Hey, Copper. Hey, Copper. You know, are there any laws in them books you got about exchanging paper for bags of dirt?
You know what? Oh yeah.
What?
You know what should be a law in these papers that I have?
What?
Acknowledging that I have a first name, and not just calling me Copper. Huh?
What is
No.
your first name?
Steve.
And that scene. So, Teresa, did that kind of look like how you write?
Sure. Yeah.
Great, outstanding. We're always happy to do things right. Speaking of how you write, when you decide to sit down, when you decide to actually physically begin writing a cookbook, describe that to us. Do you sit down and write all the way through? Do you write sections at a time? Do you write 15 minutes a day, every day, no matter what?
No, so it's a bit different than fiction, right? So in this case, my process starts with reading. So I read all of the source material that I'm going to draw from. So Outlander is a series of 9 books right now, I think 8, 9, I can't remember what we're at.
8.
And then she has a number of other sub-series books that she had. Stephen King, on the other hand, has written something like 50 novels, and then several collections of short stories. So we've narrowed it down to the ones that just take place in Maine. So I've read them all, although I talked to Mr. King on the phone in person in December. And I was very embarrassed to find out that he found a fault in my claim right away. And he was like, well, have you read The Reach? And I was like, no. And I hadn't read them all from Maine. And that's actually his favorite character that he's ever written. He told me was Stella Flanders, and she's the most Maine character he's ever written. And then after I've read all the material, while I'm reading, I'm writing down every mention of food in the book, even if it's somebody describing something as food, like a simile or a metaphor or something, because sometimes I use those kind of things to make up recipes too. Sometimes they're real dishes that are in books, and sometimes they're maybe inspired by a character or inspired by an action that happened in the book. And once I have all of those things written down in my journal, then I make a spreadsheet out of it. And so I enter all of the notations I have of food. Sometimes it's like Diana's for the second Outlander cookbook. It was 700 recipes, 700 dishes, all in a row. And then I start categorizing them. And that's why I put them in a spreadsheet, because you can sort anything. And that's where I become a real geek. And I'm not really all that creative. I'm just a crazy spreadsheet monster who loves to color code things, because it's so much fun to have a spreadsheet. And then I really just work down, and you start with, I started with 700 and I worked down to 100. Then you write up a proposal, which means you write up the table of contents and tell them what you want the book to look like. And at that point, I send it off to Diana or to Stephen King, to his agent. And if the agent likes it, then they pass it on to the author. And in this case, Stephen King actually liked it as well, which is insane and amazing. So that's where we are now. I've just about finished all of the recipes. So it's for the first 4 or 5 months of writing a cookbook, you're in the kitchen half the time, and then you're in the office the other half the time typing all the recipes out. So
it's more research and experimentation. Exactly. Rather than the writing process is actually fairly simple. You just end up writing down what you did, right?
Exactly. And it's like writing a VCR repair manual. A recipe is the same every time, except it's a Sony or a Toshiba or a JVC or whatever, right? Sometimes you kill the lobster. Sometimes you make moctopus. Like I have a moctopus salad, which is quite a funny thing. But anyway, and then
do you want to just go ahead and ask what moctopus is?
I'm gonna hold it. I just blew my mind.
Turtle,
continue.
right?
I'm sorry.
It's a mushroom. It's a big mushroom, a big king oyster mushroom, chewy, just like a squid. And now my testers are about to start next week. So they are the people. I have 12 lovely volunteer testers, and they test all of my recipes for me. I get each recipe tested 3 times, and then I work all that editing into it. And then after that, I'm almost done at that point. Then I start assembling the book and writing introductions and things like that.
What do you look for in terms of a tester? Do they just have to be willing to eat anything, or do they have to actually have knowledge of food?
You know how I did it? I went about a bit differently. I had a fandom to draw from in Outlanders, so I have quite a big Facebook following. So I actually asked people, and I made a questionnaire, and everybody filled it out. I had 875 responses. It was really overwhelming. And I chose a selection of people from all over North America, not in Europe, just because they use different measuring system. So people from, 3 Canadians, and then the rest of them are Americans, sort of all over the continent. Some of them are professionally trained. Some of them have no skill in the kitchen at all. And they've all been together for all the first 2 Outlander books. And they're going to test for me for the, it's called Castle Rock Kitchen. So Castle Rock is a fictional town in Maine, in Stephen King's Maine. So it's, instead of Outlander Kitchen, it's Castle Rock Kitchen. And as long as they have an oven and a good attitude, and they didn't tell me why they wanted to test because they could correct all my recipes and make them much better, which some people did, those people got deleted, just so you know. If you were out there and that's what happened to you. You got deleted.
So the testers are both responsible for recreating the recipe to make sure that the recipe is recreatable. And then
Yeah.
to taste it and tell you what they think of it?
Yes. And whether my timings were right, and whether, bake for 20 minutes, was it really 20 minutes or was it 45? And were all the ingredients in the right order? So if all the ingredients have to be in order of when you use them in the recipe, right? That kind of thing. They're picking apart things that I don't catch when I'm looking at a recipe, the same recipe, like for 3 weeks in a row.
Right.
So they do for the next 6 weeks, everybody's going to get 3 recipes a week. And then they pass the feedback into me, and then I give them more recipes. And we end with cocktails. Yay.
Those take longer, I assume.
Well, we do. Yeah, I like to have all the work done and then the hangover.
Guys, any other questions?
I'm just
All right.
wondering, out of all those recipes that you pull together, all those mentions of food, what is it that gets one, just thrown out? I'm not going to use this. Not even going to try.
Generally, it might be the excerpt. So it's a balance, right? Because I really want the emotionally charged excerpts that connect with the reader. And so a lot of times, like in Outlander, oatmeal porridge is mentioned literally once a page, right? So I've got 700 of those mentioned, 200 of them might be oatmeal. So you have to find the best oatmeal excerpt, and then all the rest of them go out. And then sometimes you need to fill a crack in the table of contents because you don't have enough chicken dishes. So you have to find an excerpt where she's talking very vaguely about having dinner, and then you just slide, that's chicken. You just slide the chicken in there.
All right. I think we're ready. So let's. I don't even know what this section is called, but let's do it anyway. Hear ye, hear ye! Hear ye, hear ye! Citizens of the kingdom, the king is approaching and offering a new position in the castle for a food tester. I'm sorry, taster. Food taster, yes. You, madam, you're interested in tasting His Royal Highness's food?
Yes, absolutely.
Outstanding. And you, madam, too, sir, all of you?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes.
I'll tell you what,
Please.
I'm willing to give each and every one of you an audition. You can have breakfast, you can have lunch, and you, sir, you can have dinner. Think of it. A world of promotions and wonder await you. Get rid of the humdrum of your peasant life and come and be a royal food tester for as long as it lasts. Yes, come with me, come with me.
Wait. What do you mean as long as it lasts?
Oh, well, there is hazard pay. The king's not very popular,
So food might be
hazard?
bad? I mean, like, I eat bad food all the time. I mean, I just eat potatoes 80% of it. So that's...
Oh, no. You will never be fed a spoiled, rotten potato or bad grain in the castle. No, it's not that at all. It's the poison.
The what now?
I should have waited until you had signed on the dotted line. It's the poison. It doesn't happen very often. We're very good at protecting His Royal Highness. Think of yourselves as the last line of defense, not the first.
Oh, my husband's calling me.
My kids need me.
But your loyal peasant.
Verily, sir, I have an inquiry.
Yes, go ahead.
If we make it far enough in the role of taster tester, will we be able to have the opportunity to eat the king himself?
Get out.
I am not just any monster. I am a crazy spreadsheet monster.
No, not the spreadsheet monster.
You've heard of me, I see. I don't smash your houses or eat your children. I mess up fear.
You strike fear in the hearts of those of us who are computer illiterate.
Excellent. That is I feed off of the fuel of people who are not good at computer work. Listen to this. Summation.
No. No.
So I hear you got a monster on your hands, do you? Guess not.
Yep. There's a monster.
You don't got to be afraid of no spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are easy. Control, Alt, Delete. Then the monster ain't no monster anymore.
But what if she backed up her work?
See, the problem is they run through fear. They run through terror. Just reach down there and unplug her.
No.
Just
Don't listen to the
like
man.
this?
No.
There you go. Say.
Thank you.
What are you doing after the monster hunt?
I don't know. What are you doing?
I was thinking we could find some lobsters and dispatch them.
Look, the passage has to be here somewhere.
But look.
What do you think I'm doing, Bernice?
Well, you're the one that got the book, so you need to find it.
Well, look, the book said to come to the McDonald's Play Place on 35th and Avenue Y. And then there's nothing else. At least I've been able to find that makes sense within the context. Nothing about a ball pit or a giant purple monster or anything like that, Bernice.
Adam, are you sure you're reading it right?
Well, it could be upside down. Oh, wait. I may have started at the back of the book. Look, I'm trying my best, Bernice.
Adam, this is the third time this week that we've gone on some crazy hunt.
Bernice, I thought you liked these crazy hunts.
Yeah, I did for like the first 2 weeks we did them. You woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning screaming, "Emergency, emergency."
Yes, and I was dressed as a robot. You love Lost in Space.
Not at 3 o'clock in the morning, Adam.
Look, I can't think of a single person who wouldn't want to have Will Robinson screamed at them at the wee hours of the morning. But fine, okay. Well then, okay. So I switched it up. I switched it up. Look, I mean, last week I made you a hobbit, and I took you to Mount Doom.
You did, and it was wonderful. I'm so glad you made me a hobbit out of a bar of soap that I paid $18 for, and you brought me to Mount Doom, that is that Broken Down Family video. I'm very glad. It's very creative, Adam. I love it. It's great. But can we just do normal couple things?
And scene. Normal couple things. That doesn't happen in improv very often.
No.
Bernice, have you been enjoying yourself?
I have been laughing. Yes, I have been laughing with my mute.
Good.
Well done.
You're the only audience member that we get to currently interact with, so we're glad you're having a good time. Before we do our last little bit here, is there anything that you would like to talk to the audience about? For instance, your website and where they can buy your books.
Sure, that'd be great. You can come and find me on outlanderkitchen.com. You'll also find me under that name, Outlander Kitchen, on Facebook or on Instagram. And the books are available anywhere books are sold. So online, or we're all trying to support local bookstores now. So if you can do that, that would be a great idea. And Castle Rock Kitchen is not coming out until 2022, but watch for it then.
All right. So for our last segment, that's right. The show is going to be over after this. Normally what we ask you to do is to talk about your upcoming work, but we've kind of already done that. So instead of doing that, we're going to ask you to give us your most memorable recipe. It could be memorable because it was great. It could be memorable because it was horrible. It could be memorable because it burned the town down. So, do you have a memorable recipe?
I do. I can come up with a good
Good.
one. A good
We're
one
gonna
that
give
actually
you-
burns the town down. Yeah.
Great. We're going to give you 15 seconds to tell us everything you can about it. Go.
Okay, so it's marmalade, and you can only make Seville oranges into marmalade, and so they're really expensive. And I had to pay a courier, and it cost me $60 to get the oranges. And then I made the marmalade, and I turned around for 30 seconds, and I burned it.
And that's time. Let's present orange marmalade.
I have to, you know what, I have to say, I thought there would be room on the Candyland board for Lady Marmalade, but I guess not.
Well, you thought wrong. That is a excellent gumdrop.
Leave room for gumdrops. They made room for licorice, but not Lady Marmalade.
I'm sorry. It's just that children don't really like marmalade.
What is not to like about Lady Marmalade?
Well, you're a bitter, crusty old woman. I'm sorry. It's true.
I just don't curry for anybody, you know. Like some people will just curry up for anybody. You know, anything that they want to bring, a package, a parcel, a bushel of apples. No. I'm very selective on what I curry. So, yes, very selective. So if you want,
Okay.
so if you would like me to curry your things over, needs to pass a very strict test, and it will cost you lots of money to put in my satchel of curry.
Okay. I was actually asking you to order the curry chicken. I don't want you to ship anything or anything. I just want you to bring me some food.
Now,
That's
when
your
I
job,
saw-
right?
No, when I saw the order on Postmates, it said courier, and there was a fancy spelling of courier. And so I picked up the shift because I thought you wanted a professional courier.
I see. No, I didn't
Yes.
mean courier. I meant curry.
Okay, but now that I'm here, do you have anything that needs to be curried? Like, do you have something that, you know, maybe a will and testament, or like some gold coins that you need a special set of skills to bring to a loved one across the United States?
I got a water bill that you can take in if you want to.
Sure. Yes, I would love. Can you put it in an envelope that is sealed with wax? Because then it would be special enough for my curry sack.
I think it's glue.
Fine.
It's got a stamp on it.
Fine.
It's a Mickey Mouse stamp.
Okay, I don't want to know that it's Mickey Mouse that's going in my curry sack. Can you just give it to me? Thank you.
Wow, talk about bitter.
Oh, honey, I'm so glad that you're taking me to Spain. Oh, I can't wait. I'm sure it's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the whole experience. I mean, we'll still, of course, where else would we start besides Madrid?
Madrid? I thought we were going to Sevilla.
You know,
Beautiful Sevilla.
We can, so we can skip Madrid. We can absolutely.
To Madrid! Woo! I got all the Madrid stuff you wanted to bring on your trip. Here you go. Here's your I Love Madrid shirts. Put them on. Woo! I got your back, bro. I got your back.
Thanks, sis.
I mean, maybe stay for just a day too. I mean, I know that Sevilla is your favorite place, but you know, maybe
an overnight to rest after the flight, right?
I have your tickets to Barcelona. Your sombrero.
Oh,
I don't know if they have that in Spain or not, but whatever. Tickets to the bullfight.
oh, wow.
And your euros. You're going to need those.
Oh. Okay, so an overnight in Madrid, and then maybe like a pond jumper to Barcelona, and then Sevilla.
How long are we staying in Sevilla? Mi querida Sevilla.
Darling, dearest, however long you would like.
Guys, here's your
Sell
ticket.
the house.
Right, first you get there and then you fly out. I got your tickets out of Sevilla. You told me you wanted out of there real quick. You land at 11 a.m. You fly out at 4:30. Here's your tickets. Woo, got your back row.
You were going back to Toledo, right?
Toledo shirts for
Toledo.
everybody.
No, he booked tickets to Toledo, Ohio.
Honey.
And that scene.
Excellent, guys. So, Teresa, just come back on. Thank you so much, guys. We have been JKL Improv presenting Improvisations on a Theme. We have many thank yous. Of course, first and foremost, Teresa, thank you so much for joining us and hanging out with us this evening. And I personally cannot wait until 2022 for your Stephen King inspired cookbook. I'm very excited. Of course, we would also like to give a big hearty thank you to Nelson and In Production for handling producing duties. You can go see what In Productions is up to. Their website, www.improductionsllc.com. Well, collectively, we have been JKL Improv, but individually, I am John.
Kate.
Lori.
Mark.
Again, thank you so much, guys. Have yourselves a wonderful evening.